Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
So we about to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against it and with a little bit of soul, no times.
Welcome to Please Remain Calm. I'm Ben Gonzalez.
And I'm Daniel Gonzalez. As always, folks, the opinions expressed here on the Please Remain Calm podcast are our own. They do not reflect the opinions of the Los Angeles City Fire Department or the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services.
No, they do not. And we have a special episode today, you guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. We have an awesome guest, and it's somebody who worked with our dad.
Very closely with our dad.
Yes.
So we'll get into that and get some good stories. We have with us today Los Angeles Fire Department Battalion Chief Kris Larson. Welcome.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys both for the opportunity.
Yeah,
we're always like on this show, we're always looking for like interesting guests to have. Obviously, that's like a challenge after 80 episodes.
Yeah.
And we've actually been talking about having you on for a while now.
Yeah. Our mom always tells us to have you on too.
Yeah. Our mom is your biggest fan, trying to get you on the show here.
Yeah.
But you know, it's when you have a podcast, you like to have guests that not only have one, guests that have like at least one interesting thing that they do or that they're involved in, or have had happen to them. As we get into this interview here, you'll see that Chief Larson has a lot of different facets to who she is in her career, and also how she got there.
That's why we didn't mess around with other stuff at the intro. We did the disclaimer and like, let's start this.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover here. When you're talking to somebody who has done so much on the job, from a place where it's a little bit more difficult to do those things as well. To being a trailblazer in different ways on the fire department, to being in charge of a lot of different things, including recruitment now. So we'll get into all that. But first, how are you?
I'm good. This is fun. I like doing this kind of stuff.
Well, great. I guess we'll just start off like how we do. Anytime we have firefighters on here, I always like to take it back a little bit. A lot of our guests or a lot of our listeners are guys and gals that are up and coming, and looking to get on the job and looking at this as a career and paramedicine as a career. So I like to kind of start from the very, very beginning, you know what I mean? And just talk a little bit about how you grew up, where you grew up, and how the spark of even wanting to be a firefighter started for you.
So I grew up in a little town called Olympia, Washington, which for people that don't know, Washington State is actually the state capital of Washington. It's not Seattle.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like most kids. I did sports. It's a small town. I mean, maybe 20,000 when we first moved there. It's just a little bit bigger now.
Wow. Yeah.
So small town. So, I was like all those kids, the field trip, in like elementary school to the fire station. I'm like, yeah, well, this is cool. I didn't really think about it. Did the athletic thing all through high school, got a college scholarship. Kind of like small town kid goes to like, oh my God, LA.
Yeah.
Right. So I end up here in LA at UCLA.
What sport?
Track and field.
Track and field.
Nice.
Okay.
So I threw shot, discus, and javelin. So they didn't have hammer when I was coming through, but shot, discus, and javelin. I did all three of those at UCLA. So I got an athletic scholarship to do that. And one of my jobs during the summer was painting the dorms. And so I'm painting the dorms with this girl who's on the crew team. And we're both like, getting ready to graduate the next semester, next year in June. And we're like, what are you going to do? I don't know. What are you going to do? She's like, you'd be a good firefighter. And I'm like, where did that even come from?
Yeah.
And obviously pre-internet, because I've been on the job for 31 years.
Sure, yeah.
Go to the library, look some stuff up, go, okay. Now, right, I'm not from LA, so I don't know the difference between the city fire department and the county fire department.
Right.
Get the phone book out, go to the yellow or white pages. LA County Fire Department. I call them. They go, we're not hiring, call city. I'm like, oh, okay, great.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to get a job, and I didn't realize the
This
competition.
firefighting is easy, man.
It is. I can make a couple phone calls.
I just got to call them.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
But I mean, I didn't realize how much effort I would have to put out.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a whole big, I try to explain it. Getting on the fire department is not like going to Costco or Starbucks. It's like, those are, you fill out an application 2 weeks later. There's like a whole different vetting process. So I wasn't prepared for that because growing up, my parents had real estate and I worked in the summer on their real estate, painting, mowing lawns, yard work, hanging wallpaper. I mean, that's kind of what I grew up doing.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden now I've already moved to LA. I'm like a little fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
My track teammates were Gail Devers and Jackie Joyner Kersee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right, because you're
gold
UCLA in the
medalists.
80s.
Yeah,
right?
gold medalists.
Wow,
So
that's
I'm like,
crazy.
I can't compete. My name's nothing compared to these guys.
But
they
you won
did
some
teach
stuff,
me-
didn't you?
I won some stuff. I mean, I'm a 3-time All-American.
Yeah, see? There
But
you
I
go.
mean,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Sheesh.
when you compare me to 3-time,
Okay,
4-time gold medalists,
yeah, I
like
guess
that,
so. It's
there's a little difference
UCLA
there.
track, yeah.
But I mean, the some of the lessons I learned from them and humility and kindness, those have carried me through, my whole career. But when I started to get on, all of a sudden I go to this women's hiring event. There's like 300 women, and I'm like,
Whoa.
Yeah.
okay, now I got to compete. But I'm an athlete, so I'm used to competing.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I went to that seminar. I followed through with it. I had this really nice guy come and sit behind me and go, hey, you're going to go up and talk to that captain up there? And I'm like, no. He goes, no, I really think you should. I really think you should. It took him about 30 minutes to convince me to walk down to the front of the auditorium and talk to this captain.
Yeah.
And I did. And, I got invited to this program that they had for women back in the late 80s. And
What year was it that you got hired?
I got hired in 90.
90. Okay.
October of 90. I started in May of 90 in this pre-training program, and I got my official in the drill tower in October of 90.
Okay.
And that was still kind of like a period where it was rough being a woman on the fire department.
There weren't a whole lot. I mean, you got to think about it. The first women that came on as firefighters came on in 1984.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
still a proving
Right around the
ground.
corner, yeah.
Right
Yeah.
around the corner.
It was just
Sure.
a few per class, right?
A few per
Yeah.
if there were.
If there were, right? Yeah.
So out of that group of 300 women, there were 3 of us that
Yeah.
started a class.
Wow.
That's
And,
crazy.
and those numbers are kind
Crazy.
of the same today. It doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. I mean,
Yeah.
when we talk about it, but, one of them retired not too long ago. One of them's still on the job. And so it's kind of cool. But I mean, it's like I sit here and like 30 years later, like percentage wise, we're the same
yeah.
as far as our numbers of women. Haven't
At
gone
least
up
it
that
feels
much.
a bit more like the culture shifted a little bit more.
It has. And over the last few years, we've hired more women, and consistently, every class is having at least 3 or 4, maybe 5 women start a class. And that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, because there were years we never had any.
Yeah, so I was going to say, so at the time you started in 1990, there was what, like 30 or so, 50
Yeah.
department-wide maybe?
Maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that.
It's crazy.
And they got a hard time like anywhere they were. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I can remember like mid 80s. You know what I mean? Like when all that was happening and the
Mhm.
chatter that was going on.
yeah.
And the people that were against it and all that stuff. And it seems like the gals that we're hiring now have been preparing to be a firefighter specifically. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
it's not just like oh, you do shot put, oh, you'd be good at this or whatever. It's
Yeah,
like
that's right, 'cause when
it's
we
like I
had
want to
Julie-
be a firefighter,
Yeah.
so I'm doing CrossFit, I'm doing this, I took all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it feels like actually in general, it just feels like we're getting more well-defined firefighter candidates now,
Yeah.
as opposed
Instead
to
of
like
like
people
looking
from,
for somebody at the gym. Hey,
yeah,
hey, look at
yeah,
you.
or the trades
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Like when our dad got hired, it was all
was all
just after
construction,
Vietnam. It was all
plumbing,
it was all
yeah.
trade guys,
Yeah.
plumbing and stuff like that. It was like those are the type of guys we can train to be firefighters. But now there's so many things out there to prepare you, camps and all these different things, youth programs, the Explorer program, our cadet program now, all that stuff. So we're getting all our candidates in general, but especially the ladies that we're getting are prepared, all the way around for the job. It seems like now.
Yeah. And part of that we'll get into later because that's what you're doing now.
Yeah.
But so you graduate tower. So where did you start out? Where were your assignments?
My first old Fire Station 83, you got to say, because we got a new Fire Station.
Oh,
83.
yeah, that's
old
right.
Fire Station 83 in the Valley
Mhm.
in Encino.
That's how you know when you really got time on,
I
when you
know.
can refer to stations as old. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Worked at old 15s or
Yeah.
yeah.
And then my truck house was 20s in Silver Lake Echo Park area.
Yeah.
And then I went over to Fire Station 92 on the west side.
Okay.
So decent houses, got all kinds of different stuff at different places.
Yeah.
It was the first time that the crew ever worked with a girl when I first went to 83s, and the captain's like, I don't know what to expect.
Where do you go to the bathroom?
And it's
Where do you
like-
yeah.
But it was like one of those
What do you
things where
eat?
it's-
What do you- Yeah.
2 days,
It
2
was-
shifts, and we were done. It was
Yeah.
like, okay, the novelties worn off. Okay,
Everything's cool,
let's
yeah.
go do this stuff now.
Yeah.
Let's train, let's do that.
And I guess that's That's one of my main things, like judging people. Or we'll get a rookie and someone will be like, oh, I heard this rookie is whatever. Get him from somewhere. I heard from such and such this rookie is whatever. And it's like, let's go out and drill and see for ourselves, before we start talking shit about somebody.
Well, I mean, that was an advantage for me, right? So the athletic part definitely that was an advantage.
Sure, yeah.
Right? Because I'm coming off, a throwing career where I'm super strong.
Yeah, right.
I squatted 400 pounds. I was bench pressing 225. They couldn't physically break me.
Yeah.
Could they ask me a bunch of tools and equipment question I could answer? Heck yes. But that part of it, they could never break me on. And so it's like, okay, well, next.
Yeah.
Like we'll move on to somebody else because that wasn't part of it.
What was your degree in from UCLA?
I got a degree in sociology. So I really wanted a communications major, right? But all the communications classes were in the afternoon when I had track practice. So it's like there's those athlete majors at UCLA, sociology, psychology, history, and like poli-sci. There was kind of like the athletes major because classes were more in the morning.
Yeah.
You can get to whatever you needed to get to.
I would have thought it'd be communications though, because you see so many athletes go into broadcasting.
Yeah,
it's true. You know what I mean? That's
that's where
They
I
need
wanted
to change
go.
the schedule.
Totally wanted to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, that wasn't going to happen.
What's the farthest you've thrown a javelin?
Oh gosh, it's been a long time. Probably around 150 feet.
Damn,
nowhere near.
That is crazy.
Nowhere near what the top of the line people do. So.
Damn.
All right. So, your first promotion was to captain?
My first promotion was to inspector.
Oh, inspector.
So when I was studying for captain, I kind of hedged my bets. I'd never taken the captain's test and I wanted to practice. So everybody that wants to practice for the captain's test that's never taken a test takes the inspector's test. Well, the problem was everybody that did that, they all got promoted to captain. And so like the first 30 people were just X'd out as soon as the list came out. For inspector. Because they all made captain. So I was like, okay. And
that worked out.
It did work out, but it was weird because I didn't get promoted the first round. And then I went in for my 3-hole score interview, which is, sit there in front of the chief and whoever this person is, and they're asking me questions and I'm staring out the window. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But what I realized then was the power of making those personal connections. Because one of the captain too at the time, I always had EMT. We used to do EMT refresher in person. And he always got in my group because he knew I know the answers to all the EMT stuff. And so before the interview, he goes, you helped me out during EMT. Let me see what I could do for you here. And I'm like, by all rights, I should have failed. I gave them answers, but they were horrible. And I knew it. I walked out of there. I sat in my car and cried. Then I wrote down the questions. And then my phone blew up with people that wanted to know what did they ask. Because I was a second round of interviews, but I was the first person on the first day.
Okay.
So,
and the 3-hole is a while from your first interview.
Yeah, the 3 holes, I mean, it was maybe like a year.
Yeah.
So I'm already back into the captain's study mode.
Yeah.
And
they're asking you inspector stuff.
They're asking, but you know what? It was good because it really did help me prepare and realize I need to raise my game for promoting to captain. So I did that. I literally was an inspector for 6 months and a day. To the day. So literally my probation ended on a Saturday. I had gotten a call from the fire chief. It was Chief Bamatri at the time. Hey, I'm promoting you here. You're going here. I'm like, okay. And so he called. I guess I was on my way home. So I had left the office to where I could park my car. So I get home and there's this message on my answering machine. I called my mom, like, listen to this. I'm getting promoted to captain. So I ended my probation as an inspector on one day and started Sunday of probation as a captain.
What year was this?
2006.
2006.
So I had about 15 years.
So you got hired in 90, promoted to captain in 2006. So you were on the job for the riots. Where were you assigned during the riots?
I was at 92s.
Oh, okay.
So, it was
kind of mid-city.
It was a weird day, right? Well, I mean, like the surreal things that firefighters do, right? Hey, they're going to announce the verdicts. Let's make popcorn and watch the verdicts, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so we're sitting there and we're watching, and the battalion chief happened to be there. And about halfway through, once the first verdict kind of started getting read, he could sense what was happening. He goes, I got to go. And we're just like, whatever.
So they didn't do any kind of prep or or like, hey, be on alert. This
Well,
is going
so
down.
no,
Tactical alert.
we didn't. It wasn't like before. Like now, if something's going to happen, it's like I sit on an EOC team.
Yeah.
So when the Chauvin verdict came out, they go, hey, if it's going to be this time, then this, and then we'll staff the EOC and we'll do all this kind of
there's
stuff.
all these plans in place.
All these
typically
plans in
now.
place.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. So the captain told the cook, start cooking dinner. He got everybody in the kitchen while he was cooking, and he says, okay, anything that's not physically like bolted down on the fire engines, let's move them, put them in a compartment, go upstairs, grab extra socks, grabs extra t-shirts. We don't know how long we're going to be out.
Yeah.
And that was it. You know, as soon as we started seeing what was happening at Florence and Normandy, we're like, ooh, it's going to be a long night.
Yeah.
And it was. And we didn't get into it right away, but you know, the first fire we went to, start loading hose. One of the guys innocently, hey man, help us load some hose, because they split the engine and the light force.
Two civilians standing out there.
Yeah, just civilians, and they go, I see 4 white guys that'll help you, and we all went,
Merp.
okay.
Yeah.
You know, driving to our next fire, drive right past it, because we were looking at some guys getting drawn down on by the cops at a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
Turn around, we go, hey, we missed the fire. Get off, turn around, get off the rig, and that unmistakable sound of a shotgun being racked
Oh wow.
right next to my ear while I'm trying to pull hose.
You were on the truck or the engine?
I was on the truck.
Yeah.
And the cop yelling, take whatever you just took off that fire truck, put it down.
Oh no.
Like
shit.
he wasn't playing. It was just chippies. They were not playing during the riots.
Yeah.
And something fell on the ground and that person took off.
That was when you guys had a CHP escort on the runs?
Well, we didn't really have the CHP escort. We just happened to get into the area.
Oh, okay.
Like we ended up over like into 26's first area, mid city, a little bit farther down.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh no, there were cops there. And LAPD, you know, I love my brothers in blue, but during the riots, that was not their
checked
They were
out,
not there. Yeah.
They weren't there. CHP, God love those guys. They were on it and they
Yeah.
weren't playing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was, we're going to take care of this. We're going to protect you guys.
Yeah.
So we just ran around all night till the sun came up.
Crazy.
Where'd you promote into as a captain?
I promoted into 47s.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So go over to El Sereno.
Yeah.
And nobody's been there forever. I had Leon Job as my captain too.
Okay.
So I got an old guy. Chris, don't worry about it. I'll take care of you. You know how to play poker? I'm like, yeah, we play poker here. Okay, great. I got a probationary member. You know, one of our first fires, probationary member pulls out a disposable camera. Cap, can you take a picture of me at this fire? Oh, okay. I'm like, hey, whatever, you know, it's pre-cell phone stuff. So yeah, sure. And so I didn't stay there very long because nobody had been on that spot for over a year. So the way the department works is they try to fill the oldest vacancies first.
Mm-hmm.
So then guy bids on it. Then I go, okay, I see the transfer list and he's on it and I'm not. I'm like, where am I going?
Yeah.
We don't know yet. And so I ended up back at Battalion 18, back at 58s,
Yeah.
on the same shift as I had been on the C shift prior,
Oh yeah.
just at Fire Station 92. So I got
So you
a lot
knew
of
the
grief.
people.
Same
and stuff,
guys,
right?
So
yeah.
a lot of the
crews.
same people.
Yeah, it's always nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you transferred into 58s with our dad,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, and he was at 47s too before he went to 58s.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was
really?
at-
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
from
was the
80,
last time, yeah.
84 to 92.
That's
He
where
was
we were
in
little
there.
kids hanging out at the
Oh,
fire
okay.
station.
That's like our
47s,
earliest
yeah.
memories, like hanging out at
Yeah.
the fire station.
And it used to
Grass
be-
Force.
And yeah, Grass Force
Mhm.
47.
with Sterling
Sterling Johnson.
Johnson.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Rest in peace.
Yes, rest in peace.
Yeah,
Um,
we play with his kids, and his kid winds up going to the NFL.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
crazy.
Yeah, so I had a little
Small
bit.
world.
I had a little bit of pressure on me because when I promoted, little did I know. So when I started to study, you don't think anything about it. I'm not a super history buff, and coming not from LAFD, I don't know anything about it. Say if you promote to captain, you'll be the first African American female promoted in the department's history. So
Who told you that?
Alicia Welch?
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a little pressure.
Well, I mean, there's only. There was only two of
Like,
us.
I just
that were
became the
taking
first
test.
inspector.
So, you
Yeah.
know, that who knew if I was actually going to do that. And when the list came out, I got a lot of guys going, I hate you. I hate you. I'm, why? Because Delisa Davies should have been the first. And I'm like, Karen Lashley Slider should have been the first, but she didn't take the test. And then I guess I did better than Delisa. I don't know. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how life works out that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? the smallest like insignificant thing can take you, you know, in a completely different direction.
Yeah. There was a whole competition to be the first female captain. She didn't even know.
Yeah,
I didn't even know.
And she won.
And I won.
And she slid in from the inspector seat. Yeah.
What job did you like better? You like being an inspector, a captain 1, or a captain 2?
I tell you what. So again, when I promoted to captain 2,
sorry,
I was the first African American female promoted captain 2.
Look at you.
Beat everyone again.
And the first to promote to battalion chief.
Yeah.
And currently, as we stand, I'm the only African American female officer in the department.
Wow.
There's nobody else because Kathleen Gilbert just retired.
That's crazy.
I'll tell you, my best assignment as a captain 1 was the drill tower.
Oh, really?
I loved it. Hardest working assignment there is.
Yeah.
But that is the one assignment where you are making a difference in who the department is hiring.
Sure. Yeah. The quality
You know,
of the people that are getting.
Why is it the
Get in
hardest
there.
assignment?
Because Drill Tower 81 is in Van Nuys.
Mm-hmm.
It's a concrete, you know, drill yard.
Yeah.
And when you're
facility.
standing out there in, you know, black uniform, black shirt, and it's 120 degrees, you're like,
Shit.
what the hell?
Yeah, yelling at everyone, running
Yeah.
around. You know, you want to be an example too.
Yes, you have to run all the drills in PT
Well,
with
I mean,
everyone.
Well,
Or-
I mean, not all of them. I
Right.
mean, let's be honest. There's some things.
Pick
I'm
your
like,
spots.
I'm not gonna do.
There's peer group
Exactly.
for that,
I picked
yeah.
the perfect viewing spot where I could see, where I could watch and be like,
Faster.
Yep.
Well, it was mostly, you know, like they do a lot of Rama where they just pick up ladders and throw them. And one of the guys, I was up like on the 3rd floor of the drill tower, and I'm looking across the drill yard, throws the 14 upside down, and I was like, calling
He
him
must be
out.
tired.
It was the beginning of the day, and I'm like, and the guys are like, "How did she see that?" I'm like, "Dude, eyes in the back of my head."
Yeah.
Same thing when I was working COVID at Dodger Stadium. You know, that big, huge lot 1, and something happened, and like, you know, I'd be there in a heartbeat, and everybody's like, "How'd you do that?" Just walked.
Yeah.
Just walked.
Yeah, it's part of being a great leader.
Yeah, 9 miles a day, but I walked.
Yeah. So you did the drill tower assignment, and you also had the COVID assignment.
Mm-hmm.
That was when they had the whole Dodger Stadium LAFD testing site with the lines
largest
for
testing
miles.
site in the world. Yep.
How long did you do that?
So when the world shut down, my section, the recruitment section, went and staffed COVID test sites. So we did the first one in the parking lot of Frank's, and then moved over to the parking lot of Lot 13. And then as traffic got bigger and horrible, and we couldn't get people off the freeway, we made a deal with Dodgers, and you know they let us use that Lot 1.
Couldn't get people off the freeway, so it was basically
It
like
was
a
just- it
Dodger
was
Stadium
so-
traffic,
oh,
like
man,
game
we
day
got-
traffic
yeah.
for COVID.
It was worse than game day traffic.
Yeah. It was
Way
gnarly.
worse.
Yeah.
Way
So
worse.
the hill exit was just
Oh yeah.
wow.
People couldn't get off the freeway. People were going around different ways. Oh, it was a nightmare.
And
So,
then protesters coming up and
yeah,
you know,
shut down
throwing-
one time
That's
for
right.
protesters.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
were it was anti-vaxxers.
Yep.
Mhm.
Right?
Anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, like the COVID deniers.
Yeah.
So how did that go? They just come like right to the
So they started with a little staging area down below, and then they
Mhm.
walked up the hill, and we're like, okay.
and
we
they're
just
marching
shut the
and have
gates.
signs and
They did. They marched and they had their signs, and they were pretty respectful. They didn't. The first time it happened, we just shut the gates on them. Second time, they never came in because the cops were like, "Yeah, don't do that."
Yeah.
And you know, all these people that are coming to get vaccinated, they're at a standstill. And as soon as those guys decided they were going to disband and go back down the hill and do whatever their thing was, you know, a lot of people that are like families driving an older relative in.
Sure. Yeah.
They were
Right.
just like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
You know, because all they wanted to do, these older people, was get vaccinated.
yeah.
You know, and they're like, "I don't want to die. I just want to get vaccinated."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it was probably the most challenging yet rewarding assignments because we didn't know what we were doing. You know, we're paving
Sure,
the road
yeah.
as we're driving it. Who had a playbook for this? Nobody.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
we probably did it better than anybody in the world.
Yeah,
Sure.
you did the testing and you did the vaccinations.
And we had sites that did both.
Crazy. So I'm like, I don't know if you remember, but like on the busiest days, like, do you remember what some of the numbers were? Like how many people you guys saw or how many?
Just during
sticks you did?
testing alone,
Yeah.
there were some times where we did like 10,000 a day.
Jesus.
Oh wow.
At Dodger
That's
Stadium.
crazy.
Yeah. With how big of a team?
Well, you know, the interesting thing about this is it was a combination of sworn and civilian. So CORE, the
Yeah.
organization CORE, they did the majority of the staffing. And then we had firefighters that were base camp managers and supply orders and
Okay.
logistics. So it was a kind of a weird strange way to work
Yeah.
because I got no authority over them. I mean,
Sure.
I was going to say they're under you, basically.
They're under
still.
us,
Yeah.
but it was really a collaborative effort, and it was a unique working experience because these people are just they were 20 somethings making $25-$30 an hour. So
Yeah.
Have you been involved with like recruitment and helping? Like, I know you're involved with like a and we could talk about that right now if you want. The camp up in Washington, the girls' camp. Have you been involved with things like that throughout your career, or at what point did you start kind of leaning into helping people get on the job, helping women get on the job?
Let's see. I think it was 2001 that I started up at Camp Blaze. I'd gone to a women's fire service conference and I met up with some Seattle women and they're like, "Hey, we do this camp during the summer. You should volunteer."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. What is it? It's a week long. I'm like, oh. So I'm like, okay. So it's in North Bend, Washington. So it's a Washington State Patrol Training Center, but they do the fire stuff there.
Okay.
And the Fire Training Academy. So it's like in the middle of the woods. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Oh,
like,
really?
Get off the freeway, you're going through the mountains, you get off this road and you start driving and then there's nothing. And then you get to a gate and there's this huge training center.
Yeah.
Wow. And so what it is it's a leadership camp, but it's in the fire service environment because the people that volunteer are firefighters.
Okay. Yeah.
So we give 24 girls a full week. So they just got to get there.
What ages?
16 to 19.
Oh, okay.
Liability wise, because we do live fire. So from day one, they're getting fit tested, bunker gear. And at the end of the week, they're doing live fire. In addition, we take them off site. One day we go to Bellevue and we do rappelling, cut up cars with the jaws of life. They go eat dinner at a Seattle fire station and get a ride on the Seattle fire belt.
And where are these girls like coming from? Are they finding out about this through their school, or just online,
word of mouth? You know, there's a ton of like 2-day girls camps that have sprung up along the West Coast. So some of them find out through that. Okay. Some of them are just searching fire camps and they'll find it. And so there's a group of women. We capped the registration at 60 this year. So there's 60 applicants and we took 24. Okay. And so they spend a week with us and, we'll take them through
the gamut, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been doing it since 2001. So, I spent a lot of time as a crew leader and all that. And then just this year I've stepped up and I'll be the incident commander for the week. So.
Sweet. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. We were both, I did the Explorer Scouts cadet program back then. Or cadet program now, Explorer Scouts back then. But when you get under the drill tower, you can clearly see who's gone through any kind of program like that before. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The advantage you have just in like from the guys that have like manipulated the hose and laid a line, messed with the chainsaw, done all that stuff, cut open a car, all that stuff. You can tell kind of night and day who's done it before and who's just now touching it and learning it for the first time. So. To be involved in something like that, I think is awesome, especially for ladies. We're getting a lot more women in the fire service. To have an outlet like that that's geared toward that for ladies, I think is awesome.
It's for that, and it's also for like years ago, probably like 15 years ago. My cousin went through, and she's like, I don't want to be a firefighter.
Yeah,
and she's an occupational therapist. In the DC area, and she, those life skills that she learned, translate to whatever you want to do.
Sure, yeah.
So
like you said, it's a leadership camp.
I would love all these girls to want to be firefighters.
Yeah.
But if they don't, they've gained these experiences, developed friendships.
Sure, overcome fears probably. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen some girls cry all the way down rappelling.
Sure, yeah.
And then if they get to the bottom, they're like, I want to do it again.
Yeah.
Go back up there and do it again.
Yeah.
Climb 100-foot aerial. Just the stuff that you get to tell your grandkids you did.
Sure, yeah.
Even if you never became, I got to climb an aerial when I was, 16, and you got the pictures to prove it and the videos to prove it. So that's the cool thing.
Yeah.
So you're in recruiting now, right?
Yep.
So how's that going?
Recruiting, well, it's been slow because of COVID, so I can't buy an in-person event. So a lot of the stuff we're doing is virtual.
Okay.
But and the same with the cadet program. I just got the cadet program back. So we talk about you took advantage of that program.
Yeah.
And so we use all of the youth programs we have as progressive pathways for kids to get in the fire department.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at it, this is one of the only jobs that you can have. You can be 18 years old, have a high school diploma or GED. Mm-hmm. Get your EMT and your CPAT, which are your medical certificate and your physical training certificate, and make a 6-figure salary.
You're set
with
for
medical,
life.
Dental, the benefits. I mean, you can't find something better.
Yeah.
And you go out into the regular work world. What companies still have pensions?
Yeah,
and allow you to put
Yeah.
in money into your own 401k.
Or that you can stay there for 20 years.
Yeah.
30 years.
30
yeah.
years.
You
I
can,
mean,
yeah.
look, I'm here 30 years. Your dad did what, 32?
32.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, it provides for you, your family. You
Yeah.
know, you learn to live by a different schedule, but it still works.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's always important for people to know that. I always think it's great that I just had a paramedic intern that just got finished. Actually, one of the best interns I've had in a while.
Oh, isn't that?
But he was a cadet, and the department sponsored him through paramedic school.
Yep, we do that.
So
Smart.
it's another thing to keep in mind for you guys out there that are listening, that are guys and gals out there that are listening, that are, you know, you never know getting into one program where that program, first of all, the connections you're going to make,
Sure.
you know, with the people in there. We've talked about that before, how, you know, I work with captains now that I've come up with that I was an EMT with at McCormick, you know what I mean, before we got hired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know who this person that you're, you know, going through this camp with or riding next to on a private ambulance, what opportunity that relationship might open up for you later on in life, you know? And, you know, just like the intern we just had, Mike, he, you know, had been a cadet. He was a Navy ROTC in high school.
Okay.
And so we kind of had that discipline
Yeah.
already, and then became a cadet. And then through the cadet program, you know, was sponsored through paramedic school, which is huge, you know?
Yeah.
Totally.
So, you know, for those of you out there that are thinking of maybe leaning towards something like a camp or anything like that, take advantage of any opportunity you can to get into any kind of program like that.
Yeah.
You know, they all have something good that you can put in your, you know, little toolbox of things to know when you do get on the fire department. But like I said, you never know where they're going to lead, you know.
Absolutely. And keeping in that theme of that, you never know what the, you know, build your relationships. You never know what's going to happen with the people that you're sitting next to. It's kind of like with us. You sat with our dad, and now you're sitting here with us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
And
crazy,
this
man.
could reach other, you know, people that you want to recruit to the department.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a tool that comes full circle.
So be honest. What was it like working with our dad?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know he's a handful.
He's a handful.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it. You know, it was funny because for a lot of time he was good, and then there were some days where it was like, oh my god,
Too much.
and, and then there's those conversations where, hey Cap, and I always know when it starts off, hey Cap, can we have a conversation? I'm like, oh, this is gonna be something. This is gonna be something. Okay, so badges off. Oh, now I really know it's gonna be something, right?
Yeah.
So I think I had a couple of those, and you know, just stuff that you work through. But I will say the interesting thing was, you know, he was one engineer and then had another engineer who was a young guy.
Yeah.
And I had a young crew, and they all were like, you just 3 weeks off probation, you're 6 months off probation,
Yeah.
Wow.
you're a year
Oh,
off
wow.
probation, right? So
Yeah.
I had a young crew. None of them learned how to tiller, all this kind of stuff. We went to a drill, and I was the one tillering because none of the firefighters were certified yet.
That's
so
not good.
that wasn't good, but we worked through it. But you know, those guys were like, at the end, your dad would like to sit in there and do a Sudoku puzzles. Just sit in there
Sudoku?
and he was just sitting in there doing his puzzles, and they're like, well, he doesn't talk to us. I said, you ask him some questions. And I'm like, dude, he's been to more fires than you're ever going to go to in your career. And he's
Yeah.
going to tell you he did everything perfect because he was a pump engineer. So it was always perfect. He never made a mistake. But I said, talk to him. And I go, you get the best of both worlds, right? You get the guy that's been doing it for a long time who teaches the old school ways. And then you got this young guy who's teaching you what the current department stuff is doing.
Yeah.
I go, but you got to ask him.
Yeah.
I go, but when you ask him, he'll tell you stories. And so they were afraid. They were just afraid because
Sure,
he's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
the salty old engineer, right?
Yes.
And so we'd ride around on a fire engine. I just start talking to him, and we just start telling stories. And the guys were like, you know, they kind of look at us and like, what the heck?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You know-
how long was this fear period with this crew and
You know,
and
the
Benny?
fear period lasted probably about like 3 or 4 months. And then but it wasn't like fear that he was going to do something to him.
But just to
it
approach
was just
him,
the
yeah.
fear of
General.
the approach.
Right.
But I was like, look, start doing some studying.
Yeah.
Ask this guy because you feel comfortable talking to this guy. Ask him what the study program's like,
Mhm.
and then go to this guy. Go, hey, I got this dumb question. I'm like, I don't care if you want to play stupid or not, but just go and ask him questions because he can teach you stuff that
Mhm.
you will never understand, and he's going to teach you the why, which is just as important, if not more important. That's why we're doing it the way we do it.
It's
So-
like one of the biggest problems I think with rookies, for instance, right? We've got new rookies at 63s right now, a second house and a third house. I always give the rookies the same talk, right? Your first two drills that you give are always your PPE SCBA drill,
Mhm.
and an inventory drill. Okay. Those two drills, you go to 3 houses. Your first 2 drills at each house are those 2 drills. Okay. Those are, I always tell rookies, those are knock them out of the park drills. All you have to do, and you only have to do it once, you got it down, and you have 6 knock them out of the park drills throughout your probation. But it's all memorization. Just take the time, memorize the info on your SCBA and stuff. There's no, different way to do this or different way to do that. It's facts about your PPEs, right? And the inventory is, this is what's in this compartment.
Right.
Name everything. Name the tiny little tool that you don't know what it is. Pick it up and walk to everybody in the station. Go, what is this? What do you call this? Go to the engineer. And once you get everyone else's opinion, go to the engineer and go, okay, I think this is called da-da-da. What do you call it?
Yeah.
Well, I call it da-da-da. Okay, perfect. Put it back. The little wax grease pencil that's hidden up by the hinge up there that he uses to write shit down, you know what I mean, during a fire so it doesn't get erased, but with the water and stuff like that. When we say do the inventory, that's what I mean. Take everything out, list it on a piece of paper, find all the little hidden engineered tricky things, pull those out, know where they are. If you don't find any, go ask the engineer, hey, this is what I got in this compartment. Do you have
anything else?
Anything trick in here? No. Okay, cool. Right?
Yeah.
And then when you go to do your drill, that's all it is, man. It's this compartment A. This is what I got. You got 2 of these. You got 3 of these. You got a da-da-da. You got a ba-da-da. And you got a name for every single thing. It's not like you have a bag with assorted screwdrivers in there.
Yeah.
I want to know exactly what size, what type screwdriver it is. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But you have to talk to everybody, right? Like, let's say you have a drill on whatever, maxi force airbags, right? And you go and you can read everything there is to read about the maxi force airbags, right? And all the guys now, they have their PowerPoints and they're bitchin' looking drills. You know what I mean?
It's
and
like a new age of drills now.
They go
It's
through
like
the whole
TED
drill.
Talks.
Oh, dude, it's all, it is. It really is,
Yeah.
and they break down its bullet points and everything. And everything looks great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Gone are the days of the dry erase
Chalkboard.
on
Yeah,
the
but the thing is
chalkboard,
just sitting right here. This is,
and then they'll get done with their drill and you ask them a question about an operation or something that's not in the things and they're, I'll get back to you. And they're writing the question down. I'll get back to you. And you go, well, who'd you talk to about this?
Nobody.
Well, nobody. Or I just talked to Dave. Okay. Well, why don't you talk to such and such? He just had 3 months ago, we had an auto extrication. He uses these things, all of them, why don't you talk to such and such? So it's scary being a rookie. It's scary doing new things, right?
Oh, it's scary being a rookie.
It really is. It
All
sucks.
the eyes are on you.
Oh, we've talked about that.
All the eyes are on you.
yeah, it's pretty insane.
But you have to push past that and go and talk to people. Whether it's your drill or it's a question you have about an operation on scene of an incident or something that you screwed up at an incident. Maybe you got yourself in a bad situation and got out of it and nobody really noticed, but like, hey man, this is what happened in that. Do you have any pointers? Has it ever happened to you or whatever? That's where you get the best knowledge.
Well, that's the one thing we've missed.
Yeah.
We've stopped talking around the kitchen table about some of those things. And I had a rookie who never passed an inventory drill. Like he literally could not tell us what was in a compartment. Like for months.
It's not only not rookies not talking. It's literally like you said, everybody's got their phone or their iPad that they're watching their show they're binging. You know what I mean? Or such and such is studying for this or whatever. It's
The vets aren't talking either.
Well, where we used to sit around the kitchen table and BS and shoot the shit, after dinner or throughout the day. Yeah. After lunch, you'd go in, somebody would call a UFLAC and you go, or union break. And, you go in the kitchen, eat some cookies with each other and chit chat. That is happening a lot less now, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, and two,
of
it used
where
to
we are
be
as
like
society.
if the rookie was working on a drill, and you'd be going out of the captain's office or walking somewhere else and, hey kid, what are you working on?
Yeah.
And then you're out there, and then the next thing you know, there's like 5 or 6 of you out there,
Sure,
and you're all talking about it and sharing your experiences. Well, okay, let's go try it. Let's go make this work.
Yeah.
And I've seen some epic fails with airbag drills.
Sure.
Where,
Oh, yeah.
Hey, we're gonna do this. I think the plug buggy shifted too far. We need to rethink this. But I mean, that's a problem that we have, and that's as each generation goes through, we get less fires.
Yeah.
So, except
just
for right
gonna make
now,
that point, yeah.
the homeless. We should be thanking the homeless of Los Angeles because their
They're
large
making you good
outside fires
firefighters.
their large outside fires getting into large commercial structures are giving our people a ton of good experience right now.
Yeah.
That's been happening a lot now, right?
Every
There was one
day.
downtown a
Every
few weeks
day.
ago,
It's an
right?
epidemic,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Every single day, there's at least one downtown in the valley. Valley's been burned.
Every
up.
single day, there's at least one.
least one.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Shoot, we have a couple active arsonists in Venice. Yeah.
The streets are
Rubbish-
wild
rubbish
right now,
fires,
you guys.
trash can fires.
Yeah.
All
You
that
heard
stuff.
it here.
We had we just had a big fire a block away from the station.
Yeah.
And it started as a rubbish between 2 houses. Got
Yeah.
the wood
Oh, yeah, I
shake
remember
siding going, and got the house next door going, 2 houses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a real problem.
So, did you have fires with our dad?
I think I had a couple fires.
Got a
with him.
couple.
And a couple the times when I was with him, we were a task force station.
Right.
So he was on the pump a few times, and of course everything was good, but he had comments to make about everything that we did. Right. But yeah, we had our share of incidents. To be honest with you, I can't remember all of them, but 58's, that district has a whole lot of challenging things. You got stuff on the freeway, you got high rises, you got large apartment buildings, and you got single family dwellings. So we get a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And the one thing that is, the engineer's job is to get you there safely.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one thing I could say. He drove fast, but I never felt unsafe.
Yeah.
I've had some other drivers where, somebody made a left turn in front of us. He wasn't driving, and I thought we were going to crash. And the firefighter who had been cooking just jumped in the rig and was just still trying to get his gloves on and whatever. He wasn't even seat belted in, and we were going straight for a tree before the wheels caught, and we straightened out and almost hit like 3 or 4 cars. I got to the scene, and my hands are just shaking.
Oh man.
Get to and the lady sitting on the ground. I'm like, I got to sit next to you because we almost crashed on the way here, and I just need to compose myself. She goes, honey, take all the time you need. I was like, oh, thank goodness for somebody that was understanding.
Hey, we talked about that in another episode. Like, just making it to the incident is its own challenge. Yeah.
I literally thought the rig was going to roll. I mean, that's how out of control this rig was. I thought we were going to lose it.
Yeah.
We went back. We had like a 25-foot skid when we drove back that
Jeez
way.
Louise.
But just to be clear, our dad wasn't driving.
He was not
Okay.
driving.
All right.
No.
Your name is clear, Benny.
I think there was a story of him, and it's happened before I was there, of him falling asleep on a run or on a call and has foot coming off the brake and running into the back of the truck, and the shoes from the 35 broke the windshield of his vehicle. I
don't remember that one, but I gotta hit him up about that.
I'm pretty sure that was him.
Oh my God, he's gonna
That's
deny
perfect.
it.
He might deny it.
He's 100% deny
Hey,
it.
middle of the night, man. Pump engineer. That's a sleepy position.
Yeah, it is. Especially when you don't ever get off the rig.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, literally, don't get off the rig.
And it's vibrating. You know what I mean? It's very
It's
relaxing.
very relaxing. Turn the heater on, get the windows rolled up.
hell yeah.
There you go.
It's great.
You did
Snozzville.
tell us about that before, catching little snooze, little rest.
Yeah, I mean, when you're
Like
a
on a
pump
medical
engineer
or
and all the guys
something,
are
yeah.
inside, you're sitting
Yeah.
out there, rig security at 3:30 in the morning. It's your third after. I mean, I
you
could
rig
definitely
security
see
with your
Joe's
eyes
not-
shut. Oh,
You
yeah,
just
I
typically
saw
like
it.
to put it in park. That's all. I want to thank you. And I don't know if you remember this, but at my dad's last shift,
I do remember that.
I was at 57s at the time, and I actually had a sod day, an overtime day at 57s that day. I was an A shifter at 57s, and you guys were C shifters. And a guy from 92s had a sod day at 58s, and so I called and explained it's my dad's last shift. He doesn't know, blah blah blah, and so he went to 57s for me so I could be at 58s. And you guys arranged to have me ride the. I guess we had an extra medic there,
Mm-hmm.
and so put me on the engine. So dad's last shift, got
cool.
to ride the engine with dad.
That's
And
the only
then-
time you ever rode with him, right?
It's actually the only time we ever.
I mean, as a firefighter,
we ever worked together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I remember that.
He got moved up a couple times to different spots, or we got moved up to the place where moved up to 58s or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But never actually worked a whole shift together. So that was cool. And then Carlos was a explorer at the time, came in and rode for the PM. So our dad's last shift was me, Carlos, Dad, and the rest of the crew that was there. So that was always awesome. It's always something. I even have that was before cell phone, cameras were any good. So I actually have a video from my digital camera, going on our first call, and I put it out, and you can see him in the side view mirror. It's a
Think you
pretty
told
cool
to hold
video.
it for you guys?
Well, Hey, can you take a picture of us? Something like this. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the best thing about that was after dinner, and we're sitting in front of the station. We're all sitting in the chairs, and I think somebody might have got wet. But I asked him what he was going to miss most, about the job, and he said the camaraderie.
Yeah.
He's like, men pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to sit around a club and smoke cigars, drink, play golf,
he misses
whatever,
that now. I know.
and have the camaraderie that we do on a daily basis every time we come to work. So I always think about that.
Yeah, it's I've talked about this too. The camaraderie, the fact that it does feel like a boys club, Elks Lodge or something like that, where we go and hang out. But yeah, it also feels like it helps my relationship a little bit a lot of times. You know what I mean?
Like you get all kinds of advice at a fire station.
Oh yeah, well you get
don't
advice
and you get breaks,
and then just I don't know, man. I always have this feeling like I miss my wife. You know what I mean? Like when especially when I'm at work for 2 or 3 days, like that separation. Yeah. Feels like, and it can go the other way too. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's definitely guys that work all the time and avoid going home, and it ruins your relationship.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of guys get divorced after they retire because their wife's like, "Why are you home all the time?"
Oh yeah,
right.
Can't stand you. Yeah,
can't stand you. Your habits are annoying to me.
Yeah, it's there's all kinds of different little, unknown or unseen perks to this job and this career.
Totally. Did Benny ever fall asleep, miss a run?
Oh. I'm sure there were times, but you know what? Everybody
he slept
does
in the
that.
TV room. Though.
He did sleep in the TV room. So a lot of times it was just hey, Benny, get up.
Just somebody had to get him up.
Somebody had to get him up, and he would tell us, hey, I'm going to sleep in the TV chairs tonight. And so we just know.
He didn't like walking up those stairs.
Open up the door, yell at him, let it go.
Yeah.
So you're battalion chief now, in charge of recruitment
and youth programs.
Okay. Where? What are your plans for the future on the department? Do you like what you're doing right now?
I love what I'm doing right now. So you probably know that I had some issues with the last fire chief that we had.
Yeah.
And I stepped out on a plank with not a whole lot of people behind me, called for him to resign. So I'm going to stick around for a while and help our new chief, Chief Crowley, get her feet on the ground and hopefully move the fire department in a positive direction in a number of ways. Obviously, we got a lot of people retiring in 2023, 24.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously my job right now is to get people in the door.
Sure, yeah.
For 2 reasons. One, so that, the people in the field stop getting recalled all the time.
Yeah.
And they can have a life outside the fire department. And also because we know we're going to lose it's like 350, 400 people by the mid-year of 2024. So we got some work to do.
What do you know what the plans are as far as like how many classes are going to be going through?
So this budget year, they said 4 classes, but they gave us the budget money for 5.
Oh, okay.
So if we can get 5 classes of 65 new recruits in, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
There's attrition built into the drill tower, but if people take advantage of some of the programs we offer, the prep program, which the biggest one is CAPS, the CAPS fitness training.
Yeah.
They will have a lot of better chance of being successful.
Yeah, we had John Marasco in here talking about CAPS in that program. So you guys definitely look that up or go back and listen to that episode.
Yeah, just go to joinlafd.org and look up the CAPS fitness training. There's a link to it. It's evolved from just a workout program to actually a lecture program too. Yeah. So they're giving you some of the tools and equipment, getting your hands on before you even have the opportunity to get to the tower.
Right.
I mean, I certainly wish I had, because they're like, hey, this is a 4-way valve. I'm like, I don't know what the heck this is.
Oh yeah, just the exposure to these things.
Absolutely.
And and getting just getting exposed to it in the very beginning, just a little bit of information will help you on the drill tower.
Yeah.
So for our listeners at home, the younger guys coming up, they just heard there's going to be like over 300 jobs they're trying to fill.
Well,
What
that's
would you
300.
advise them
That's
to do?
300 this year. I mean, we're not going to stop hiring. We started hiring in late 2013, early 2014, and we haven't stopped since. Like we gapped from 2008 to 2013, and it killed us because we had a lot of people retire, and it's like, oh, well, we can fill it with have people work overtime. Well, now people are getting burnt out and they don't want to.
Right.
So, I mean, for the next, honestly, for the next 5 years, because we have to hire for all the people that are leaving, then we still have to staff up. And let's think about what's right around the corner, 2028 Olympics in LA. We got to staff up. We got to get ready for that. So, I'm hoping that we can get a lot more people hired. But I will say this, you're going to have to do a lot of hard work.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I get people that call the office, can you tell me everything there is to know about being a firefighter? I'm like, I don't even know where to start with that answer.
Right.
What I start with is, you read everything on my website, this joinlafd.org website. And then when you have a question that you don't understand, call me. Call me back. Yeah. I get people that call me with legitimate questions, like, and I don't know the answer to them. And I flat out say, I don't know the answer to that question. Guy calls it up, says like, I got one eye. I go, I don't know how to answer that. I know you have to have a driver's license. Do you have a driver's license? Yes. Apply and make them tell you no. I know.
Is there a rule that says you have to have 2 eyes? Yeah.
How
would you know? Yeah.
How would I? Yeah.
Exactly.
So, it's still hard. It's going to be competitive. I always say it's the hardest job you will ever love. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
That's a good way to put it.
Sleepless nights. You don't get your meals when you want to.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just fighting to get a shower because you're so
missing
busy
holidays and family
missing
events.
holidays. But some of the best times people have been holidays at the fire stations, right? Yep. Christmases, Thanksgivings, kids running around the handball court.
Totally.
Bunch of kids, everybody's bringing their kids in or grandkids in, and they get to, they get to run around together. Yeah. And, my grandkids still talk about when they came to the fire station running around on the handball court and with the dodge balls and all that kind of, they still love it.
Yeah, and then watch you guys take off.
And then watch us take off. Yeah.
That was the best. Yeah. But so a guy listening at home, 18 years old, thinking about joining the fire department, what would be the steps you'd give them right now?
The first steps I would be is first, make sure you're getting in shape. And then when you decide that you want to be a firefighter, you got to read and do your research, because every department in the state of California has different requirements. And if you want to be successful at getting a job as a firefighter, you have to know what that rule is. Some of them is like 18 years old, high school diploma, EMT, and CPAT. Some require fire academy. Some require that you're a paramedic. All of it different levels based on what the department is. And different hiring periods. Like LA County, they open up their filing period for 48 hours. Like if you miss it, you're done. Like, see you later.
Yeah.
Whenever we open it up again.
Yeah.
Like we keep ours open for a long time. We started in February, we end in June. It's 4 months. You got time to get that stuff done. Yeah. There's always a written test. So know what the written test is. See how often you have to take it. Maybe you just take it once and you're done. You have to take it multiple times. And do your research, because people miss stuff. I got people that are coming down for our preliminary background investigation, the guys wearing glasses. I'm like, you know what the vision requirement is for the fire department? He goes, no. I highly suggest you go figure it out. Yeah. I helped a candidate, a female through, who failed her eye exam. That girl was on it. She was like, okay, literally 2 days after she failed, she was having LASIX. Turned all her paperwork in, hadn't heard anything. So she gets in touch with a fire commissioner who gets in charge with a deputy chief. And of course, it comes down to me. I made no questions about how fast I responded to her. Yeah. Called Medical Services Division. Is like, hey, I'm president of Los Angeles Women in the Fire Service, and I'm advocating for this candidate. What's going on? Oh, she's cleared. I'm like, well, so when are you going to tell her? Yeah. Oh, okay. We'll notify her today. Yeah. So does that mean you're going to schedule her for med psych, the rest of the stuff that you need to? Oh, thanks for reminding us about this. Wow. I'm like, okay. I'll do your job for you. Yeah.
Chief Larson not taking this recruitment thing lightly.
Well, I mean, so I wear two different hats, right? I wear the battalion chief hat for recruitment, but I also am president of Los Angeles Women in the Fire Service, which is a stakeholders group within the fire department. So I get to do other things that advocate for women and minorities that are trying to get on the job, that are having difficulty because somebody's giving them a hard time. That's awesome. So I get to sit there and go, hey, what's going on here?
How long have you been involved with LA Women in the Fire Service?
I've been on the board for about 6 years. Two terms as treasurer and now president.
How long has that organization been around?
It started a long time ago. It started as the sirens back in the
Oh
early mid 90s.
Sure.
When we had enough women, and then there were issues with women. Maybe you might not know, but your dad would know the female follies stakes.
Yeah.
So, that's been an advocacy group. And then, we do a lot of work with the stentorians, just to make sure that people are getting a fair shake. And I think when you look at our department, if you look at the diversity report, the interesting thing is when your dad came on, they had just come under a consent decree in 1974.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that consent decree stayed in effect till 1995. But when you look at the demographics and what it did, there's no true majority ethnicity on the fire department.
Oh, really?
It's 38% Caucasian, and it's 31% Hispanic, it's 11% African American, and it's like 3% Asian, and then there's Native American. It's like 1.5%, and then there's some other in there.
Yeah.
So the goal of the program
worked.
Yeah. And you see that in certain fire stations. In certain fire stations, you're just going to get a bunch of white guys, right?
Yeah.
But then there's other stations where there is that diversity built in, diversity of ethnicity and gender. And,
Yeah, it's nice to see.
Yeah, it is
I mean,
cool.
it's especially when you hear, our dad obviously has told stories when he was a rookie, when he was young on the job, and you get to know different, older guys of color, gals of color that tell, horror stories from when they were rookies and stuff like that. So it definitely is. It definitely is a different fire department these days than it was when my dad got hired. But I think, some things obviously some things for the worse, some things for the better. But I think the people that we work with and the variety of people and personalities and shit that you meet now in a fire station is nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you think
diversity.
That's
diversity.
But I mean, we have a lot of people who have had that midlife crisis and they go, I'm tired of working the corporate. I'm going to be a firefighter.
Yeah.
So they have a totally different mindset. They weren't that kid that came up as a cadet or explorer or was doing something else. Like, no, I'm going to be a firefighter.
Yeah.
And so there's
Lawyers.
a whole different, there's a whole different mindset
Cops.
of what it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
What else?
Yeah, we're about
I think we're about the end.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming and talking to us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're awesome.
Yeah, you have an
really
amazing
appreciate
story, and I think it's just good for, especially on shows like this that are kind of, male dominated. You know what I mean? To have somebody, a female like you, that has come up through the ranks and is in the position you are. And helping other ladies get on the job and females get on the job, I think is just awesome.
I'll help anybody get on the job if they want to do the work.
Of course, yeah.
But
exactly.
I mean, I have to tailor the message to the women because, you're going into a male-dominated world and it's not going to be the same as everything.
Oh, definitely.
They're lucky to have you.
They're definitely going to have to put up with some BS, but on the other side of it, after that probationary year, you can tell everybody to go jump in a lake and do whatever you want to do in this career.
Yeah.
I mean, our department's so large. You want to fly helicopters, want to drive boats, go for it. Want to be an arson investigator. So, we still have some women that we haven't got them in those positions. We still haven't got a female helicopter pilot. Still haven't got a female boat pilot.
Maybe that's the next thing that you do to be the first black woman helicopter pilot.
No.
And boat captain.
I tell you what, I, as a rookie, got on one of those old Huey helicopters. They took us for a ride after a brush drill, and they did some stuff with that, and I thought I was going to toss my cookies, and I'm like, that's fine. There's no reason to jump out of a perfectly good airplane or be tossed and turned in a helicopter. Thank you very much.
We had Margaret Stewart was our rookie at 63s. She's a pilot.
She was a military Black Hawk helicopter pilot.
So we went to do a brush drill, and Air Ops came and everything, and we're all talking. She's a rookie, and she's chatting with the pilots, and I guess they knew her.
Yeah,
the pilot world or whatever. And they go, and she jumped in the front, took us for a ride.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, see, and I thought she would be our first helicopter pilot, and after she passed probation, she's like, nope. She didn't want nothing to do with it. Want anything to do with it. Yeah. And I tell you what, this is how jacked up our personnel section is. They didn't pass her on her medical. They didn't say she wasn't qualified. I'm like, she flies Black Hawk helicopters for the military. Please give me a break.
That is crazy.
So that's the kind of advocacy work that Los Angeles Women, the fire service does. Calls them out on their stuff, because we lose good candidates because of just stupid stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank God for you and the work you're doing. Like, really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On top of just the fire department stuff.
You guys can follow. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate
welcome.
you coming
Appreciate
on.
it.
I think it was awesome.
If you'd
you
like
guys
to
can
plug
follow
anything.
You know what? JoinLAFD.org. If you're interested in being a firefighter, that website we built to answer a whole lot of questions. It's going to be LAFD specific, but it's going to give you a lot of good information. I mean, you need an EMT school. We have a sheet that has all the EMT schools in the Southern California area.
Yeah.
CPAT training. We do free CPAT training. You know, our CAPS fitness program if you're in the process.
And you can put like your interest.
We don't use
there,
interest cards anymore.
No.
Interest cards are out the way. You're going to apply and take the written test if you're interested up until June 15th. And then,
and all that information is there.
All
at
that information,
joinlafd.org.
all links. We got a decision tree. You don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Have you done this? Yes. Go here. No, go here.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
That's a great resource. Check them out. You can follow them on Instagram and the social media platforms as well.
Yep.
You guys can follow me at DannyGonzo34 on Instagram and Twitter, and also follow. I don't really talk about this much, but you can follow my work page at 63X the C on Instagram.
Yeah, like X, like by the sea. Don't go looking for 63 ecstasy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a whole other
63, the letter X, the C.
Yes. All right. You can follow me at Ben9Humor, Ben number 9 Humor, like benign tumor. You can follow our show at PRC Pod on Instagram and Twitter, or at PRC Podcast on TikTok. You can also email us, contactprcpod@gmail.com. And
if you guys want a fancy schmancy PRC t-shirt
stickers
with our brand new logo like we have on the TV there, you can go to prcpodcast.myshopify.com and purchase one of those. The links are in the bios of all of our social medias.
They are
So
very
if you want to support the
cool
podcast
and durable.
help us keep this thing going, please go and support and buy one of those t-shirts.
Thank you again for listening, sharing, liking, subscribing, and thank you to Top Tree Studios. Have a good day.
Thank you.